Like one of the jokes I'm super tired of hearing. And I'm like, don't you know that everyone does this? But some people it kills. Like it just kills all the time. I'm so tired of hearing like 30-year-olds be like, oh, my knees hurt and I'm getting old.
Oh my
Like
God.
just
It's like you're 30. You are 30. Shut the fuck up. You are 30. It's like, no, I know. Like I roll my eyes so hard. Yeah, when somebody under the age of 35 is like, oh, I'm old and my back and ugh. I'm
yeah.
like, give yourself 20 years. I've got 20 plus years on you.
Yeah.
Like, talk. We'll talk. When you're 56, let's talk. You know what
But
I
it also
mean?
feels like it's a joke everyone has made a million times. There are a
Yeah.
million TikToks on it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is season 5 of Willfully Funny, formerly known as Shooting the Breeze. And this week, this is a bonus episode. I'm profiling performers who will be at the Black Women in Comedy Laugh Festival that's taking place in June of next month, actually, in New York City. And so my guest this week is Isabelle Pierre. Isabelle is a comedian based out of New York City. And welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being a guest this week.
Thank you so much for having me.
So before we get started, can you share with us your social media handles so that people can follow you?
Sure. I'm at the Isabelle Pierre on Instagram and TikTok. I'm kind of on Twitter every once in a while at the Isabelle P. But mostly lurking on Instagram. So if you
Okay.
decide to follow me, you'll get updated at least once a quarter. But I'm a heavy lurker for sure.
Okay. All right. So I'll include that I'll include your handles in the show notes.
Awesome.
So
Thank
so it's nice to meet you. This is our first time
Yeah.
uh face to face over
Mhm.
Zoom, as to face as Zoom can get. So my first question for you is how long have you been doing comedy?
So I've been doing comedy for about 3 years, but I've been performing as an actor for about a decade and just writing longer than that. So right now I'm working on a pilot and and a feature. So yeah, but comedy for the last 3 years.
Okay. So what got you into comedy?
Part of it was the pandemic. There's just, acting work dried up. I had just moved to Atlanta. So it was March of 2020. I moved to Atlanta because I had excellent timing. And I actually moved there for an acting gig that was canceled. And
Oh.
then an old writing teacher of mine was like, I'm doing these stand-up classes. Hop on and take a class if you want. And it's funny, I ignored like the first two emails and I wrote him back and I was like, maybe, when are you doing this? And he goes Sundays. And I was acting like I had this huge social life during the pandemic. I really like followed the rules. I didn't do anything. But I was like, what am I doing Sunday? Absolutely nothing as well. You're doing nothing. So he followed up with me and I joined his Sunday sort of workshop classes and he was teaching stand-up principles and you would just get up and share. And he was just like, it was a really wonderful experience. It was also, I was like, the world is ending. I might as well try comedy. What have I got to lose, really?
Exactly. Gain a
Um,
skill before I die, sort of thing.
exactly, exactly. Uh, Maybe I could stand up my way into heaven or something like that. Yeah, so that's really how I got into it. And then I did my first live show as things started to open back up in like June of 2021, which was a completely different experience because I'd been doing Zoom shows, and it's obvious it's very much not
Very
the
different.
same,
Yes.
very different. And then so it was just like learning how to get up on my feet in that way. And it's really gratifying because as an actress, I have to like wait for opportunities a lot. I mean, I've made my own work before, but if you don't like come for money, that's not something that you can constantly sort of do.
Right.
But so yeah, it was nice to just like write, try stuff, and get that kind of feedback and not have to wait for anyone's permission necessarily to perform.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. So will this be your will this like I'll be this festival will be my first time going to this? Is this your first
Mhm.
time
Yeah,
going to
this
this
festival
festival
will be
as
my
well?
second time, yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
because I've spoken to people who've been going since day one, who were there at
Ooh,
the first one, so this is like their third or fourth one.
yeah,
I've spoken to people this is their second or third.
yeah.
You're the first one who's going to be a rookie newbie like me, you
Mhm.
know. So I'm very excited. I'm
I
very
think it'll be a
excited.
good time.
I think so too. I think so too. By all accounts, it's a wonderful experience. And
Mhm.
since you're in New York, have you performed at any of those clubs? Any of the clubs
Um,
that are
so
part
that
of
are like
it?
feature on the list, yeah. So
Yes.
through my mentor, he's like his name is Jim Manginos. And so he like wrote for Roseanne back in the day, and he's just like been on the comedy scene since he was 18.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's written for a couple people on SNL, and I mean his it's not about his resume. The point is, that like he's has like slightly more connections. So I was able to when I was living full time in Atlanta, I did take a trip to New York and I performed at like um Greenwich, which I feel like everyone kind of does a stint there. And then I did a show at Broadway Comedy Club. So the
Okay.
other ones will probably be pretty new for me.
Okay. Okay. Because I think I have two shows at Broadway Comedy Club.
Nice.
Yeah, like I have no idea what to expect.
Yeah,
No,
it's a
because
nice
I've been
little
doing,
room.
yeah, because I think one show I think is up. Is there an upstairs
There's an
to it?
upstairs space and a downstairs space.
Okay,
Yeah, and I think the downstairs is like their main stage, if I remember correctly, and then the upstairs location is like all smaller shows, but
okay.
I
'Cause
don't
I
know,
think
like
one of them is upstairs.
yeah,
I think that's what I saw.
that makes
But
sense.
yeah, I'm very excited as I've been doing comedy for about this year. September will be 4 years
Ooh.
that I've been doing it, and yeah, like I said earlier, it's my first time going to this festival, so I'm very very excited. Like what do you hope to get out of attending the festival this year?
I think just connections, just like meeting people, networking, I guess all of that means connections. Having some fun, trying some stuff, because everything I've been trying and workshopping has been mostly in Atlanta, with the exception of the shows that I mentioned.
Right.
So I'm really interested in like cutting my teeth in some of these New York spaces and just sort of seeing what comes of it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, just having a good time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Maybe I misunderstood. Are you living in New York now or you're living
Yeah.
in Atlanta now?
So I'm living in New York now. I actually moved back a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
And
okay. Okay.
not just for the festival, but just like wanting to be back here, wanting to be back in this market for both acting work and comedy.
Okay, because I thought I'd misunderstood it
Mhm.
where you were living. Okay, my bad.
No, you're all good.
Yeah, because I think that the connection thing is going to be pretty important and
Yeah.
pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Like, what is the scene? What has the scene been like um for you? Because I find that even though the community where I live in Ottawa, Canada, we have a
Okay.
pretty vibrant, I'd say medium sized comedy community. Like it's tiny in comparison to like New York or LA or Chicago, but for a Canadian city, we're in the third largest Canadian city, third or fourth largest city in Canada, and we have one of the larger comedy stand-up comedy markets.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, in the country. So even that being said, and knowing a lot of people, I find that the actual like preparation and going to venues, like the whole process, kind of isolating. Do you find that as well?
Mhm. The whole process in terms of I don't
Well,
think
in terms
I
of like writing and then performing and everything, even though you could be around other people,
got it. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's still, you're still, maybe isolated is not the word. You're still on your own, like
Yeah.
everything, because it's all you, you know?
Yeah. It is. It is all you.
Yeah,
And
it's all
one of the
you.
things I like to, people talk about nepotism a lot and like the music business and in acting and theater. And it's, it exists for better or for worse. But I was like, you don't hear necessarily of a lot of nepotism in stand up because it's hard. It's just you and the mic and your jokes. And it's
Right.
hard to hide behind that. And I would say like it's probably even harder if like it was like Eddie Murphy's Child, you know what I'm saying? Like it would
Yes, the
be I'd
expectation.
probably have to like change my name completely. Um but then there
It's
are people who do it like Chris Rock's brother Tony, et cetera, et cetera. I think Chris Rock has like two brothers who do comedy, and then
mhm,
there's like the whole Wayans family system.
right.
So I
The
know that
system.
they're like a system. So I know it happens, but it can feel very I think you were right with isolating. It can feel kind of
Mhm,
isolating. It can feel kind of lonely, like you need camaraderie outside of that, and you need feedback outside of that. Like
mhm,
what you think is funny, but that's not the same as like what works as a joke in front of an audience. It's not the same as having like maybe someone scream back at you as
right.
you're doing your set. And I
Exactly.
there's a lot to be learned there, and I think that's different from finding people who are a little like-minded or maybe who can like be accountability. I think the best thing, my partner is also a comic, and we met and we started dating, not really knowing this about each other. But it's been great to have someone who's just like at the shows, and I can leave my purse with her, and
Mhm, yeah.
she'll like record my sets and
Yes.
get to have that sort of feedback. Because as you also know, I've done the same set in the same night, and like one audience loves it and the other audience is like, get off stage, I'm so bored with you.
Exactly.
It's
And
like,
that's part of that's part of what I love about it and what I find so
mm,
fascinating is
yeah,
that you could do the same set in this, even in the same venue, like an early show and a late show. You're doing the same, basically the same set, because you can't I've never done the same set exactly the same.
yeah, you can't.
Exactly, you can't. But you
Yeah.
could have like the same, okay, I'm doing all of these
Hmm.
bits
Hmm.
and deliver it the same way. And one crowd could be dying,
Hmm.
loving every minute of it, and the other crowd is like
They cannot wait for
they
you
can't
to
wait.
end it.
Exactly. They
They
cannot
can't
wait for
wait.
you to
They're
get the
so
hell off
bored.
the stage.
Yeah.
Like they're so
Yeah.
over it. And I find
Yeah.
that fascinating. I find it fascinating.
And I think what I'm really excited about, and again, like I just really officially started this New York journey, right? And New York is filled with comics. Oh my God, so many comedians. But like,
Mhm.
um, I'm excited for audiences that are more responsive to comedy as well. Cause I think that's the thing. Some audience members, like they just show up ready to have a good time. And that doesn't mean they're gonna laugh at anything, but they're gonna give as much energy as they're getting back. And then
Right.
you have other audiences where they're just like, make me laugh.
Yes.
Which I get it. You spent your hard-earned money, you're
Yes.
here, you left the house. Um, and I
Yeah.
felt like in Atlanta, I wasn't always in spaces where people were there to just enjoy comedy. Like for a lot of spaces, like in order to do a show, they would also need to have a DJ, which is very different for me growing up and watching comedy in New York spaces where it's just like you don't need a DJ. You have
Yeah.
people talking. You don't. And listen, I love DJs. DJs are awesome. But it's like it needed to feel like a party in order for
Okay.
people, like a dance party or something like that, in order for people to even want to laugh.
Oh
And it's different
wow.
when like the DJ is like a part of the experience of the show, right?
Hmm.
Like if they're commenting on the jokes. And I've been in some spaces like that and that was fun. Um, I'm on a tangent. I don't know why. I don't know how we got.
Yeah, I've never had an experience like that, like with a
Mhm.
DJ. but I've been in spaces where, you know, if it's at a restaurant or a pub
Yeah.
and people don't know that there's a
Yes.
comedy show, like they're there to watch the playoff games or the hockey playoffs or some sporting event, and all of a sudden they've turned off all the TVs. It's like, we're doing comedy now, and people are like,
No,
no,
don't do
like
it.
this, or they're waiting politely for whoever to
Yeah,
stop talking, and then they take
yeah.
off, sort of thing. So yeah,
One of the worst sets I ever had was at a pizza shop or something like very, and it was just this comic trying to do an open mic, and I remember like 4 people there, and the mic was in such a place that like people had to walk past it to get their pizza, and I'm like,
oh
why is
god.
this happening? Yeah, I think
No.
everyone too just they have so much access to funny stuff sometimes that it's like stand-up's not like it doesn't seem like the sort of like coveted art form that only a few people can do anymore, you
Yeah.
know? And I don't think I don't think it ever really was. I just think there were so many more gatekeepers that it seemed that way.
Yes. Yes.
So I feel like people are like on TikTok and they can watch a special on YouTube and there are a gazillion specials on Netflix. So they just don't. It's the same like I went to a live taping of Monique's special,
Oh wow.
and they took people's phones away, and still I saw a few people in there with phones.
Really?
And I like, yeah, and I can imagine like they just you don't understand someone's working on stuff. It's not everything is meant to be made and then just put out there. Like not everyone
Yes.
wants that like sticker TikTok feeling on their work. Like it just
Right.
needs time. Um, yeah, because I've definitely uh, and then too, like I've seen people on TikTok, they'll literally take the same joke and the same sound and they'll just like read it without any thought.
Yes.
Without any thought. And meanwhile, so many people in comedy are like, am I,
Yeah.
is that really
So,
close to mine? Is that really,
yeah.
is that, sometimes I will research a bit and see who else has done it, what they've said about it, just to like be 1,000%
Yes. This is my own spin, even
that
if it's the
this is
same
like,
topic, but my spin is completely
yeah,
different or unique.
right?
Yeah.
Like we all
Yeah.
talk about sex, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Sex,
It
dating,
happens, yeah, of
parents, family,
course.
yeah,
But
relationships,
like,
yeah.
like one of the jokes I'm super tired of hearing, I'm like, don't you know that everyone does this? But some people it kills. Like it just kills all the time. I'm so tired of hearing like 30-year-olds be like, oh, my knees hurt and I'm getting old.
Oh
Like
my God.
just
It's like you're 30. You are 30. Shut the fuck up. You are 30. It's like, no, I know. Like I roll my eyes so hard. Yeah, when somebody under the age of 35 is like, oh, I'm old and my back and ugh. I'm
yeah.
like, give yourself 20 years. I've got 20 plus years on you.
Yeah.
Like, talk. We'll talk. When you're 56, let's talk. You know what
But
I
it also
mean?
feels like it's a joke everyone has made a million times. There are a
Yeah.
million TikToks on it. And yeah, that's one of my judgmental things. I also just judged myself because I'm drinking water out of a beer pong cup.
Yeah, the
But
solo cup. Yeah.
dear listeners and viewers, I have just moved and I do not yet have real cups. Okay, so
Nothing wrong with the solo cup. Oh yeah, but yeah, it's true. I always roll my eyes like when somebody super young gets up and talks about being old and their
yeah.
stomach issues, and it's like, you don't know stomach issues. You don't know joint pain yet. You don't, trust me, you do not know joint pain yet.
Or I feel like maybe lean into it in an interesting way,
Yeah, yeah.
I have one ageism joke that I do, which I've started doing on purpose, especially when it's like a bit of an older crowd. And it's just about like posting on Facebook, because Facebook has now become this thing that like boomers are really like using in
Yeah.
mass.
And all the young
So
kids have moved
yeah,
away from it.
so
They're
we've
doing something
scurried
else.
away from this thing. Um, so it's I like have like a bit of a boomer Facebook set that I do, but I'm very conscientious of it, and it's not just you guys are bad at computers, but
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, it's all like super
Yeah, because they've got to
received,
put
so
a
it's kind
different
of that.
spin on it. Yeah, they've
Mhm.
got to be a different
Yeah.
spin. Like I have one that it's fairly new that I've been working on about menopause,
Ooh.
about that I'm not even though I'm 56 and I'm still not fully into menopause, because I haven't gone the 12 consecutive months, and
Okay.
just like how I feel about it, that that I made a deal, but whoever, when I signed the agreement to get older, it was in exchange for certain things, and I feel scammed, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You gotta put, yeah, you gotta put, because like so many
I love
women over the age of 40 have women comics talk about menopause or
Yeah.
whatever, so it's like, instead of like not doing it, like do something different with it,
Yeah.
do
I
something
love the
different
idea
with
of
it.
I love the idea of being scammed.
Yeah.
I agreed for
Yeah,
this to stop,
yeah,
and it
exactly. And this was
I
what
love
was
that.
supposed to happen, and
Yeah,
I have a
yeah.
thing like, I waited 40 years for this, like this, and
That's
just,
great.
yeah. So there's just certain things that you can talk about. You can talk about anything, and
Mhm,
like, of course, they're going to be topics that everybody has talked about already. Everybody's made some kind of joke or
mhm,
whatever about it, but you can still do it if you have a unique perspective on it,
mhm, mhm,
or something, like whether it's unique or just outrageous or whatever it is. There's a different there's a different spin on it. You could always put
Yeah,
a new spin on
yeah.
something.
I think in a lot of, so in acting training a lot, when you get scenes or like you get characters, you're auditioning, they're always like, and forgive me if I'm telling you something you already know, but they'll always be like, you have to be specific when you make character choices, and you have to go in there with a certain level of specificity so that it's your version of this character. Um, and I have never quite understood that so much as when I'm working on a topic that maybe a ton of people have already talked about.
Yes,
And I need to go in there, and it's really the specificity of details that make it my own or make it
exactly.
memorable for me, to the point where, like, I mean, you could try and steal it, and maybe you'll be successful if you have more followers than me, but it'll always be like my super special
Exactly.
flavor of it because in
Right.
part of the specificity.
Yes, because the thing is, you could be on a lineup
Mhm.
where, a lineup of 6 comics, and 5 of them could all of you, or most of you, could be talking about topic X.
Mhm.
And is it going to be 5 versions of
Yeah.
the same aspect of topic
Yeah.
X? Or is everyone gonna, okay, we're talking about dating, but is it everybody have their own spin, their own story on
Mhm.
it, which would make it interesting. But if it's the same, you know, online dating sucks. Well, what sucks about it?
Yeah. What's
What
up
makes
about
it
it
suck?
for
Yeah, what
you?
makes it suck for you? Because what
Very
makes it suck for you might not what makes it suck for me.
true. Mhm.
And right there, same premise, but 2 different jokes. 2
Mhm.
vastly
Yeah.
different jokes, 2 vastly
Yeah.
different points of view,
And I know
you
it's
know?
particularly, I don't know what happens sometimes if you've had this experience when like a bunch of comics are on the same show and there's something that's happening, I don't know, energetically, it's in the vibe, but everyone does end up talking about the same stuff. And like that's my nightmare. So I always have like two backup bits.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Especially if like there's a comic that goes up before me that fucking kills on the topic. I'm like, damn
It's
it.
true. Yeah, because you wanna have something like, "Okay, I'm gonna just take it out
Yeah,
completely, and
yeah,
so I don't even have to address it," or is mine different enough? Do I have a
yeah,
different is my take different enough that I could go ahead
yeah.
and do it? Yeah,
And I also
yeah.
feel like people get really tired of listening. People like listening intently and like trying to catch up with someone that can be exhausting, and they're
Yeah,
not taking
yeah.
breaks during the show.
Yeah,
So like
exactly,
now
because you're sitting there for an hour and a half. They're sitting
yeah,
there for an hour and a half. Which
yeah,
which
now you
brings me to another thing. Do
yeah.
you, when you're at a show, do you like to sit in the room or do you go off to the green room?
Probably it depends on a few factors. I think often, especially when I was first starting out, I wasn't doing like invited shows. I'm doing a lot of mics. And listen, I don't have a problem with mics. I still do mics. I think they're very important, especially at my level. But I would just like end up there with just a bunch of like weird guys, and I just and I don't think, they weren't all trying to flirt with me. No, they were mostly just like in their own space, kind of preparing to go on stage. But sometimes it was just like a lot of weird, like young guys, who were either trying to like out comic each other, or that they might be inappropriate with me, um, or just I don't know, just weird. So when that would happen, I would like get a feel for the space, and then I might go out and watch.
Okay.
Sometimes I find it's a relief to go out and watch. I think you learn a lot about comedy and sets and stuff just by
Yeah.
watching. Um, but I think right before I'm about to go on, I kind of need to be in my own. So if I go and I'm in the green room and I'm like checking out the space or the environment and it feels safe, I'll still sort of tend to stay to myself until I've gone
Yeah.
on. Yeah, and I
Okay.
don't know. I think that's mostly from my experience as an actor auditioning, just like you're about to do your thing in this sort of high
Hmm.
stakes environment. So it's like I need to be contained.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
afterwards, and I'm pretty introverted in general, so not specifically like very or particularly rather chatty, um, unless by some, unless the moon is in Jupiter or something like that. I don't know. So, uh, uh, that's not astrologically accurate, but yeah, unless I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. Unless
Yes.
thunder strikes, one of those euphemisms, um, or idioms rather, that I'm not particularly chatty anyway. So yeah, mostly I'm just
Okay.
like, let's stay to myself until it's time for me to do my own thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes when a comic, I don't know if you've experienced this, when they do so much crowd work, and then the crowd sort of feels like they're part of the show, but they're not. And then maybe
Mm.
the next comic that comes up is not a crowd work comic. So sometimes if I go after a comic that has done a lot of crowd work, I feel like I have to comment on that set just to like
Yeah.
reset the pace a little bit of
And be
expectations. I
like, don't talk to
actually
me.
am not here to have a
Yeah.
conversation with you.
This is a
Yeah,
monologue. Like,
yeah, I'm monologuing a little bit and hoping that you chuckle in between sentences.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, but I've been trying to play around with it too, just a little
Mm.
bit, just as I want to have the skill, but mostly I'm like, I don't want to talk to any of you
Yeah,
actually.
same with me. It's like it has to be a very specific
Hmm.
situation. Like
Hmm.
there have been times where, let's say I make a comment like during the bit and I see someone's facial expression go like, or like me too, or like some involuntary, they're not trying to heckle you or trying to
Yeah,
be part of it, but they're just like,
yeah.
oh my God, me too. And I'd be like, yeah, right. And maybe I'll ask them their experience or something, but it's usually like something spontaneous. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, you, what do you think of this? Or have you ever done that? Like if I could get away with not talking to them at all, I would. And the thing is, I know I need to do it a little more, especially if I'm hosting,
Yeah,
with
yeah, gotta
hosting, and
do
it's like, anybody have a birthday?
it.
No, good. Let's go,
Great.
make it
You just go down the
playful and
checklist.
everything. Yeah. Yeah, birthday, celebrating
Celebrating
anything.
anything.
Anybody
Right.
out of town? No,
Yeah,
check. Okay,
no.
good.
Everybody alive?
Yeah.
Excellent. Move on now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think like in the beginning, like when I was like really inexperienced, it was terrifying. Like the thought of having to interact with the crowd was terrifying because I know I didn't
Yeah.
have the experience or the skill to interact with them yet. And I
Mhm.
think now it's more like I just don't want to. I think I can. I think I can, but I just prefer not to. And it's not
Yeah.
that I don't like the crowd. Like I'll talk to you after. I'll talk to you after the show. Come and talk to me after the show. But I don't please don't talk to me during and don't shout stuff out at me, stuff like that, you know. But
I always feel like I'll acknowledge a shout, but I do it in the way that like a teacher does it when they're interrupted in the middle of their lecture, you know? It's like I acknowledge you, but I hate you.
exactly.
So I think it's never friendly, even if I'm
Yeah.
smiling, because in my eyes it's like
Yeah, I'm like,
fury. I want you to stop.
shut up.
Yeah,
Like
please
it's
stop. Don't do
because
this
I've
anymore.
like I know if I find it strange that when I'm on stage, it's almost like I have like bionic hearing. I can hear if people are
Mhm.
whispering to each other and stuff like that. It's a
Because you're
weird
so
phenomenon.
present. Because you're
Yeah,
so present. Yeah.
exactly. I'll be on stage in front of like 100 people, but I'm going to hear someone ordering another drink or someone whispering something to the
You got the
people at their
adrenaline
table.
pumping in
Yeah,
you.
and I'm
Yeah, it's
like,
like,
I
yeah,
feel
you're
like
like live
I
wire.
can hear it and it drives me crazy. And I've been told I give like the teacher stare. Like if a table is talking, like I'll stop and I'll just stare at them uncomfortably. Like shut up. I'm not going to tell you to shut up, but I'm going to stare at you until you
Mhm.
shut up, until you realize that the whole room is staring at you. But what are your do you have any short-term or long-term goals with
For
stand up?
comedy?
Yeah, for stand up.
Um, well, I also want to be a paid professional writer for sure. Would like to act in more of my own work, also in other people's work. So for me, it's just like a total performance um desire. Um, and again, stand up really fulfills my need to just like perform and know that I'm an artist without boundaries necessarily. There are rules and structure to it, but
Hmm.
just the idea that I can look for an open mic and go up and perform feels really, really
Yeah.
good. But I think in terms of a short-term goal, I would love to go on tour, like a road comic. I would love to do that, like open for someone. And then down the line, sure, I'd love a special. And or writing on a team somewhere or writing on a staff for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great goals.
Thank
Those are great goals. It's exciting, and I hope I
you.
hope all of that happens for you.
Me
That you have your
too.
do you have your pick of that you do it all, or you can pick and choose
Yeah.
what you want to do and everything. That sounds amazing. That
Thank
sounds
you.
amazing. So
Thank
thank you for talking to me today.
Of course. My
This was
pleasure. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, no problem, no problem. So I look forward to meeting you in a few weeks.
Yes.
In a few weeks. I'm driving down with my friend Rob is coming with me. He's also a
Cool.
comic. So he's making the trip with me. We're driving from Ottawa to New York
Ooh.
City. So
How many hours is that?
I think he said it's about 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right.
it's long, but it's not too
Hmm.
bad. We were
It's
gonna
not that long.
fly. We were gonna fly, but um I think it was like too restrictive, like in terms of like when we could leave and then getting around New York once we were there and everything. So
Yeah.
we figured we had a little more control with when
Yeah.
we left and getting around and things like that. And he likes to drive.
Okay, cool.
I don't. You know,
Oh,
so
okay.
it's like, if you're okay with driving, like I'll drive part of the way. I'll do some driving, but
Hmm.
you know, if he wants to drive, that's okay with me. And you know, we're gonna leave the day before. I think we're gonna leave on the 13th,
Oh,
because I
nice.
think
Okay.
opening night's the
Yeah.
14th. So we're just
Yeah.
gonna drive down on the day before, so we're not rushing or anything. So that'll be fun.
Where are you guys staying?
I have an aunt. I have a number of family members in New
Oh,
York, and so
nice.
we're going to be staying with an aunt who lives in, I think she lives in Queens.
Okay, cool.
But that's
Yeah.
that's all I know. I have no idea. Like,
So it's probably, I mean, parking's probably gonna be a bitch, but it's gonna be a relief to not have to hop on the train late at night for
mhm.
sure, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like we're gonna figure out parking and just getting around and stuff. Even if we
Yeah.
drive to a certain point and like take an Uber the rest of the way, or take the train or something, like
Yeah.
we're gonna figure something out.
For
But
sure.
yeah, my aunt lives in Queens, and
Nice.
that's where
Okay.
so we're staying at her house. So yeah, so we're
And
very very excited. So
yeah.
so thank you
Oh,
again. I look
my
forward
pleasure.
to meeting you. I'm not. I think we might be on a show together.
Which one do you think?
I think it's a Thursday night show.
Is that the diaspora show?
The diaspora. Yeah,
Okay,
is the
cool.
comedy diaspora? Is that? I think
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. I think we're, because I'm hosting that show.
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's that one. And that one's at 9 or 8.
Yeah, I think it's nine. It's like 9:15 or something like that. I'm just looking it up right now. Okay, here. Yeah, it's June 15th.
They put me on like 2 shows in the same night.
Oh yeah. Yes, we're both
Yeah.
on that show on the 15th. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm hosting that show, and yep, you're here on the lineup. So yay, to work together.
That'll be great.
Yeah. So I don't have shows, like I have like my shows like just one show per night, like on a night. I
Hmm.
don't have to run anywhere, because I was concerned about that, of having to,
Yeah.
you know, be on one show and then like 2 hours later be somewhere else. But
I'm gonna have to run, which is obnoxious, but
which
I
nights?
tried to get out of it, but
Okay.
we're not rescheduling anyone. All right.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
what I would have chosen for myself.
Yeah, because I was
uh,
I was worried that I was gonna have like two shows on a
yeah.
night. And it's just like, I've done that here, but it's different when you know where you're going versus I'm in a city I don't know, and I'm in a
Yeah.
different country and a city I don't know, and I don't know how close or how far things are and everything. So I'm kind of relieved that
Mhm.
I don't have to worry about that. So
For sure.
yeah, yeah. But I look forward to meeting you and seeing
Yes.
you during the festival. Thank you again for joining me today.
Of
And
course, my pleasure. Thank you. This was fun.
thank you. And so I will include Isabel's social media in the show notes. And again, the Black Women in Comedy Laugh Festival is taking place in New York City from June 14th until the 18th. So in a few weeks, and you can buy your tickets at the website, and I will put the link in the show notes as well. So thank you for joining us, and see you next time. Bye.